Welcome to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I am your co-host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, as always, from the FF Face-Off, Anthony Servino. How you doing, Anthony?
Doing great, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was right. You were wrong last night, so that's all we need to take away.
Barely wrong. Barely wrong. Greg Zerlin could have put that game away, and he didn't.
Wrong is still wrong. But I think Russell Wilson made his case for the MVP, and I know I was mocked when I said he was the best quarterback in the NFL. But last night, he was special. 268 yards, 4 touchdowns. Of course, Zerline misses a 44-yard field goal, which he hardly ever does. And what was your take on Russell Wilson last night?
I mean, Russell Wilson, he's already a Hall of Fame quarterback with his resume, and right now he's off to the best start of his career. Russell Wilson played, probably his best game of the season, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere because now DK Metcalf is getting involved. He had that one long touchdown. They're featuring that tight end, Will Dissly, who I think could emerge as like a top 5 or 10 tight end in this league if he can stay healthy, and he has. And then there's Tyler Lockett. I mean, this team is dangerous, and Russell Wilson plays a big role in that.
Yeah, and Chris Carson played a big role in that too with 118 yards rushing. He also caught the winning touchdown pass, barely, but he did catch it. And Chris Carson, I mean, he makes this offense diverse, and he makes it so, you get to defend the run and the pass, which makes it even more dangerous.
Yeah, Carson, he opened the year with 3 games, 3 fumbles lost, even cost Seattle a game against the Saints. But now in the past few, he's been getting that on track. They're getting Rashad Penny back. But Carson, that's his backfield unless he puts the ball on the ground again.
Yeah, and Jared Goff, I think it was another subpar performance with the exception of some big throws. He was 29 for 49, 395 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And Todd Gurley, 51 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns, but I still think there has to be tremendous concern about this Rams offense, and especially Jared Goff.
I'm very concerned about Jared Goff, but I don't know if it's Jared Goff's fault. I think it's the fact that other teams know the Rams can't run the football.
Yeah, but even with that,
this is not the same Todd Gurley. This isn't the same offensive line, especially. Gurley has 4 touchdowns and, 2 in each of the past 2 games. But, when you're scoring from, the red zone or inside the 10, that's not Todd Gurley football. He's not getting big plays. He's averaging, about 3.5 yards per carry or less. So they know. Other teams know that this Rams is they're a one-dimensional team.
Yeah, and penalties were a major factor, especially at the end of the game. The Rams didn't do themselves any favor with the delay of the game penalty on 3rd and 10 from the Seahawks 30-yard line, which forced Goff to throw a short pass to Everett to try to recruit the yards back. Without that delay game penalty, perhaps the Rams and Zerline are kicking a 30 or 35-yard field goal instead of a kick outside of 40.
Yeah, but that delay of game penalty didn't he come back on the next play and throw a perfect ball to Cooper Kupp?
I thought it was Gerald Everett, and then, after that, they ended up kicking the field goal.
Either way, I know that there was one where there was a delay of game. There was some kind of a penalty, and then they came back, and Gerald Everett was open underneath, and he could have picked up the first down. But instead, Jared Goff put a perfect ball to Cooper Kupp. Well, regardless, though, I can't blame it all on Jared Goff when it's not like he's struggling and Gurley's Gurley. He's struggling and Gurley's a shell of himself.
Well, let's face it, they still scored 29 points. So at some point, you got to start to question this defense that's supposed to be so good.
Yeah, where was Aaron Donald again?
Yeah, they gave up 55 last week. They gave up 29, or they gave up 30 this week. And what is a great NFL game without a blown call by the officials?
The Clay Matthews call, right?
Yeah, Rams linebacker Clay Matthews. There's no way that should have been roughing the passer.
No, and I think a lot of these bad calls are putting teams in bad positions, and they're costing teams games.
Yeah, and it's a shame. And why can't they review that? I mean, I know they would never
That's
change
next.
it,
That's
but
next. No, that's next.
yeah, but
If
we
they're
all know
reviewing
they're not
pass
going to change it.
interference, they're going to start reviewing everything.
Well, I think it almost has to be because it affects the integrity of the game. I mean, you can't have a game that is decided by an official.
But that's the way it's always been, no?
Yeah, but that's because you didn't have the technology to be able to correct it until recently. I mean, even if you look at NFL replay,
I'm
and
surprised you are for that. I'm surprised you're saying that.
oh, I'm
Because
always for
I'm
the replay.
against reviewing pass interference.
I'm not. I want the call made right. If I'm
So
coaching
you
the
so these
game,
games are going to be 9 hours long because we're
no,
going to
they're not.
review everything.
They're not. I mean, how long are they now? I mean, the games right now are like 2.5 minutes longer than what they were last year. And if I'm sitting there watching a game for 3 hours to 3 hours and 10 minutes, I'm all right with 3 hours and 15 minutes if the correct team wins. I mean, we've had this argument on past shows with other guests, and if I'm the coach and I'm spending 15 hours a day preparing for a game, I don't want an official in black and white stripes to decide the game for me.
I don't know. I just think you can't make everything reviewable, but that looks like the way we're going.
Yeah. The Rams 3-2 now. If the Niners win this Monday night, it puts them 2 games back, and they've got to host the 49ers in 10 days. And with the 49ers defense and the way they can get after the passer, as of right now, without
You
seeing a Monday night game, the 49ers, I think, and I said it at the start of the year, I think they're going to win the NFC West.
You know, I definitely believe they're a playoff team, but the West, you know, the way Seattle and Russell Wilson is playing right now, it's hard to say the 49ers are just going to keep rolling the way it is. But you bring up their pass rush, they have the best run defense in the NFL right now, even better than New England.
Yeah, and the thing that makes me think they're the best team in the NFC West is they've got good run defense, they've got great edge pass rushers. That's perfect to play against a team like the Seattle Seahawks. And Russell Wilson, outside of the exception of Chris Carson, there's not a lot of weapons there. He's got some decent guys now, but he's doing this on his own, and I think that the big key is Jimmy Garoppolo. If Jimmy Garoppolo starts to play even average or slightly above average, I think the Niners can win the division, but I also think that's a big question right now.
Yeah, and I think that's always going to be the narrative with Jimmy Garoppolo is what player or what quarterback are we going to get? Is he going to be the one, you know, creating or turning the ball over 5 times in the first half, or is he going to be the one throwing maybe a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio on a given week?
Yeah, and I think the one with a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio wins the NFC West. I think the one that's 1.5-to-1 or 2-to-1 probably loses it to Seattle. Let's go ahead and let's look at the games coming up this weekend. And one that really stands out to me is Jameis Winston, who's played really well since the season opening disaster against the 49ers, goes to New Orleans to battle the Saints and Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater has been 2-0 right now, but he has only thrown for an average of 185 yards per game. Who do you think wins this game?
It's hard for me to buy into Teddy Bridgewater, and I know he's 2-0, and they beat the Seattle Seahawks and the Cowboys, but that has a lot to do with the Saints defense, and that's going to be the key to this game too. Is, you know, what Saints defense is going to show up. You know, they're at home, they play better at home, so I'm going to give the Saints a slight edge here, but I think it's going to be close.
All right, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers, and I'm going with the Buccaneers because of one thing. I think the Buccaneers, I think they rank second against the rush. And if they can put Alvin Kamara under 100 yards and force Teddy Bridgewater to beat them, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is good enough. I think Shaquille Barrett is going to have a huge game. He leads the NFL with 9 sacks right now. So I'm going to go with the Saints in the upset here.
You mean the Buccaneers,
or the Buccaneers
in the upset?
Yeah.
On the other end of that, it just feels like Jameis Winston is due for a Jameis Winston game. And if Jameis Winston has one of those games where he's turning the ball over, the Saints defense is going to have their way.
Well, remember this also. The Buccaneers beat the Saints in New Orleans last year, the first game of the season. I know it means absolutely nothing, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback or some crap. But I think that Bruce Arians has helped Jameis Winston out immensely. And I really like the Bucs' defense and their ability to get after the passer and also to stop the run. And if you limit and force Teddy Bridgewater to beat you, I don't think he can do it. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons, who are a disappointing 1-3, go to Houston to battle the Texans, who are 2-2 in the middle of the AFC South, where I think everybody is 2-2. Who do you like here?
You broke up there. What game are we on?
Falcons at Texans.
Oh, this game's going to be a mess, in my opinion. Both of these teams, the Falcons, they're somehow 2-2, but their losses have been really ugly, especially last week at home to the Titans. And the Houston Texans, they're 2-2, and their offense can't get much going. I can actually see this game as a shootout. I can see, with the way the Falcons defense is, they're playing, not the best right now. Deshaun Watson and those weapons getting back on track. So I can see the Texans win this game, and I don't see a very good season ahead for the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, they can't run the ball. They can't play defense. Their coach is on the hot seat. It's going to be a long day.
Yeah, I like the Texans here, too. I just think that Whitney Merciless, J.J. Watt, I think they'll make life miserable for Matt Ryan. I think the Texans win the game. Next up, the Buffalo Bills at 3-1 travel to Tennessee to battle the 2-2 Tennessee Titans. This one is really confusing because you got Marcus Mariota actually played well last week. The Bills' defense is really good. Is there any update on the quarterback situation in Buffalo for this game?
There's a chance that Josh Allen will clear the concussion protocol and play, but I think he's getting a limited tag for practicing this week. So if he clears it, he plays. If he doesn't clear it, it's going to be Matt Barkley.
All right. What about Devin Singletary?
Singletary's going in the right direction.
All right. So when I look at this with the Bills and the Titans, I'm going to go with the Titans. And I think the Titans all around have the better team. A lot of this is going to depend on Mariota not turning the ball over. I don't think he's got to play great. I think they just got to not turn it over. I'm assuming Matt Barkley is playing, and I'm also assuming, coming off a really tough loss to New England last weekend, that the Titans will squeak by in this one.
Yeah, I like the way the Titans are playing right now. They're getting Taylor Lewan back, their elite left tackle. He's going to help a ton. Mariota looked good. But the Buffalo Bills, they barely lost to the New England Patriots. Their defense is playing well. I think they're going to be a handful for the Titans, and this could be a game where Buffalo gets back on track and gets back in the win column. I like the Buffalo Bills here.
It could also be a game that ends up 6-3. So
that's okay. Why not?
All right. Next up, the New England Patriots travel to Washington. I've got you a fantasy one here. I would take James White this weekend because James White is the top pass protector, and the Redskins like to blitz a lot. I think James White will score 2 touchdowns this weekend. And, of course, I like the Patriots.
Yeah, I don't mind the James White call here because I don't trust Sony Michel to get going. He's been struggling. Rex Burkhead might be. He played last week, only 1 touch, dealing with the foot injury. So this could be a James White game. Definitely I see the Patriots rolling in this one, though. Their defense is just too strong, and Washington really has nothing.
All right, next up, the Baltimore Ravens, who started the season out 2-0, but now are 2-2, will travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, who are 1-3. And the Ravens' defense gives up a lot of big plays, but that's why I'm going with the Ravens. Because Mason Rudolph does not have any vertical game at all. He's averaging just 3.3 air yards per completion, the lowest of any quarterback probably in the history of Western civilization. I don't think they're going to be able to throw the ball downfield. I think the Ravens' defense will be able to stifle the Steelers up front. I think the Ravens win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to side with the Ravens getting back on track. They opened the year with 2 wins. They lost 2 in a row, 2 better opponents. And now they're getting Mason Rudolph. And you said all the right things. They kind of have him in bubble wrap. He's throwing a lot of balls right around the line of scrimmage. James Conner, we don't know if he's even going to play, which isn't a bad thing because I like Jalen Samuels a lot. A swing tight end running back can do a lot of things. But this Baltimore Ravens team, they need to win. They need to get back in the win column. And, this is the right opponent. This is the Steelers without Big Ben, and I don't exactly trust their quarterback.
All right, next up, the Oakland Raiders will play the Chicago Bears in London, England, which is stupid. What do you think of the Raiders-Bears?
I don't like these London games, especially because you don't know the field conditions. I mean, sometimes they're just, absolutely terrible. I think this is going to be a game that's going to be heavily featuring both rookie backs, David Montgomery on one side and Josh Jacobs on the other side. Um, you have Chase Daniel in for Mitchell Trubisky for the Bears, and I think that's going to be an upgrade. The Raiders are playing good football. I'm going to go with the Bears here, and I'm going to go call a David Montgomery breakout game.
Yeah, I think David Montgomery goes over 100 yards in this game. I actually think this game will probably be closer than people expect because I really think Derek Carr is good. He's just in a bad situation. But I like the Bears also. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings at the New York Giants. Both of these teams are 2-2, and the Giants are at a point here where if they can get a win against a quality opponent and go to 3-2, they're actually in play, and at least the season won't be boring for the next month for Giants fans, Anthony.
It's kind of a revenge game on the Giants' end, and with Sharmer going against his former team, Daniel Jones. He didn't have the best game last week, even though the Giants squeaked out a win. They're getting Golden Tate back coming off of the suspension. I like the Giants' offensive pieces. I think they're going to keep them in games, but the issue is the Giants' defense. And this is the type of a defense where the Vikings really need to see, because they need to get this offense going. They need to get this offense on track. The wide receivers are pissed off at the play calling and the quarterback play. Dalvin Cook couldn't do anything last week. So this is a get-right matchup for Minnesota, and I think they come out with the win.
I think the Giants win this game. I think there are huge issues with Kirk Cousins and people trusting him. I think there's a decent chance that you will see Stephon Diggs benched because of the not practicing for basically no reason. I like the Giants to pull the upset here, Anthony.
Really?
Yes. I think there's issues with Kirk Cousins.
I think there's issues there too, but that Minnesota defense and Dalvin Cook should be enough to hold off the Giants.
It should be. It's just a feeling. You don't have to yell at me for it. Next up, the New York Jets at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jets are 0-3. The Eagles are 2-2. Looked really good last week. The Eagles are paper thin at cornerback with injuries to Ronald Darby and Avonte Maddox. Sidney Jones has practiced this week and is hoping to play. It looks like Sam Darnold will probably play in this game. So actually the spread on this game is like 14 points. If you're giving me the spread, I may even take the Jets, but the Eagles will win this game by 10 to 12 points, I think.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Eagles here. And Sam Darnold's really, they're being non-committal about his playing status. I actually think he's going to end up playing, and that'll keep the Jets competitive. These two teams are probably the two worst secondaries in the league. So there could be a lot of points if Sam Darnold plays. But, yeah, the Eagles are going to win this game. I don't know by double digits if Darnold's in, though.
All right. I think they will because the Philadelphia Eagles are better than the Dallas Cowboys. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Carolina Panthers. Both teams are 2-2. This is a huge game for both teams, and I would think the key is who gets going here, Christian McCaffrey or Leonard Fournette. And when you do that, at first I was leaning towards the Jags, but when I think about this, McCaffrey is more consistent. I'm going to go with the Panthers.
These are two teams that normally play pretty good defense, but they're also two teams with young quarterbacks and two very good running backs. And, yeah, you said it, who's going to get going between Fournette and McCaffrey? I think they both have big games. But I'm going to roll with the Jacksonville Jaguars here. I think Jacksonville's defense is a little bit better than Carolina's. I also think Gardner Minshew is a little bit better than Kyle Allen, maybe a lot better than Kyle Allen, and that's where I'm going to side with the better quarterback.
Well,
and I like Kyle Allen, but Gardner Minshew, I think there's something here with him.
Yeah, but Christian McCaffrey is going to have a huge game because the Jaguars have had issues covering backs out of the backfield all year, and nobody's better than Christian McCaffrey. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals will take on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals right now are tied with the Dolphins with a half-game lead over the Cardinals for, the first pick next year, which will be Tua out of Alabama probably. What do you think here, Anthony?
This is probably It's
These
going to
two
be a long.
teams combined have allowed 40 sacks this year.
I think Cincinnati ends up winning it.
All right, I'll take
I mean, I don't really have much analysis to go with that. I mean, this is another game for the Cardinals without Patrick Peterson, and that just right there should be enough. If you can protect Andy Dalton,
They can't.
But it's not like you're dealing with Pittsburgh's defense. This is a Cardinals defense that has been terrible all season long.
It doesn't matter. They'll get pressure on Andy Dalton. I'm going to go with Arizona. The Bengals defense will be the loser here because Kyler Murray, I think, will run and throw all over him. I think he runs for 300, or he runs for 100, passes for 300. When I look at this, the Bengals' problem is defensively is communication. They don't communicate, and I think against a team like this, it's really going to bite them in the ass because they have a tendency to lose their gap responsibility. I think they'll run around like chickens with their heads cut off, and I think Arizona wins the game. Next up, the Denver Broncos, 0-4 at the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 2-2. Big game for the Chargers, and you need to get on the right side of 500. What's your take on this one?
You know, the Chargers are getting Melvin Gordon back, and that's going to help them out a lot. I think he's going to add a spark to that team. I think he's going to add another dynamic to the offense, and this is going to be a game where the Chargers should be able to squeak out a win.
Yeah, I think the Chargers
possibly turn their season back, around because they're a slow starting team normally.
Oh hell, they're in the AFC. If they win, they're 3-2, and they just turned it around. 3-2 makes you the number 3 seed right now. I think if the Bills lose. Next up, an interesting matchup that I know that you are a huge Green Bay Packer fan, and they're going to Dallas to battle my Cowboys. What do you think here?
Packers are banged up. No Devontae Adams, and I think that's going to be the difference maker here because as good as Aaron Rodgers is, it's going to put him with maybe Jimmy Graham as his best receiving weapon. There's Geronimo Allison and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but they're not top-tier receivers, and the Cowboys have top-tier cornerbacks. So it's going to be Jimmy Graham and, Aaron Jones trying to run on a very good front seven. Dak plays well against Green Bay. Green Bay cannot stop the run. There should be a big Ezekiel Elliott game, 25 to 30 touches, and Dallas should handle it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dallas is the better team. I think even if everything is being equal and everybody's healthy, I still think Dallas is better. Plus, I don't like Jason Garrett, but I don't like Matt LaFleur either. So I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys also. Sunday night, the Indianapolis Colts at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts are 2-2. The Chiefs are 4-0. I don't see a whole lot of hope here for the Colts. How about you?
I don't know. I think this game is going to be a little bit more competitive than people think. I like Jacoby Brissett a lot. But the Chiefs, they're just too much. The game that they could have lost was last week against Detroit. This isn't like the Colts team from last year where their defense was playing well. Their defense has some holes in it. Their secondary's banged up. And then the Chiefs are getting Damian Williams and Tyreek Hill back most likely. So, yeah, the Chiefs are going to win this game. But I think the Colts and Jacoby Brissett, they'll keep them competitive for a while.
Well, I think the stat that stands out to me about the Colts and Jacoby Brissett is to win this game, I think it's safe to say they're going to have to score over 30 points. Jacoby Brissett has started 19 games, and in those 19 games, only once have they scored more than 30 points in a game, and that was week 3 of the 2017 season.
Yeah, but that season doesn't count for Brissett.
No, but I mean, that's the last time.
I don't hold it against them.
That's counting everything. And even this year they haven't. So I don't see where they're going to be able to score enough points to win this game. All right, that brings us to Monday night, this I think is a really intriguing matchup. The Cleveland Browns, who are coming off a huge win against the Baltimore Ravens, will travel to San Francisco to play the undefeated 49ers. What do you got here?
This is going to be one of the games of the week. I'm really looking forward to it because the Browns have won 2 in a row. The 49ers are rolling, going into their bye. Now they're coming out of it. We are going to see if the 49ers are for real. We're going to see if the Browns are for real. This should be a competitive game. But in the end, San Francisco, I'm going back and forth here. I'm actually going to go with the Cleveland Browns to win their 3rd in a row.
I think this. I think for Cleveland to win, I think Nick Chubb has to have a big game. He has to run for over 100 yards. San Francisco has the number one ranked run defense. I really think this game is a toss-up too, because I don't think with the Jimmy Garoppolo issues, we know exactly how good the 49ers are because of him, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
And
breaking news, real quick: Sam Darnold is out on Sunday.
okay, well, it doesn't change our pick because they're still going to lose. They'll just now. I would give the points, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
Now it's a blowout. Before it might have been relatively interesting, but I don't think it is now. But yeah, I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers here. But I can tell you this, if the Cleveland Browns win this game, they will most definitely win the AFC North. Because the second half of their schedule is so easy. And the game at Baltimore and the game at San Francisco are two games that a lot of people thought that they would lose. So if they can win both of those, I think that would be huge for them, and I think it would be huge for their confidence, Anthony.
Yeah, I like the Browns. They're getting Jarvis Landry back. He cleared the concussion protocol, and I think he's going to be the difference maker. This is also going to be an Odell Beckham game.
All right, yeah. Jets have ruled out against the Eagles. I almost said Marshall Faulk. Luke Falk will start. The Raiders' issues are Williams.
They're better off starting Marshall Faulk if they can get him.
Yeah, they would be. They could run a little option or something, don't you think?
With him and Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, I forgot Le'Veon Bell was on that team. That's how little he's done. What do you think Bears-Raiders wise? I just talked about the Raiders. They got a couple of guys down in Williams and Nelson. The Bears, Roquan Smith will be making the trip. It will not be playing because of personal reasons. What's your take on that?
On what? On Roquan Smith's personal reasons, or
yeah.
Just to get, I don't know what the personal reasons are.
Have you talked to him? You need to talk to him. See what he thinks. Let's give him a call.
That's going to be a big loss, obviously, for that Chicago defense. But it's Khalil Mack. It's a revenge game for Khalil Mack. You got to throw that narrative in there. And like I said, I like David Montgomery to have his breakout game. But Josh Jacobs should be a little bit should have an easier time running the ball with no Roquan Smith.
Yeah, and once again, the big game to me is the Giants, because if they win this game, I mean, Saquon Barkley, if you saw the video of him running and cutting in practice, if he comes back, they could beat out the Dallas Cowboys for the NFC East, don't you think?
Oh, get out of here.
What?
Dallas has not given up a touchdown in 2 games.
Yeah, against Teddy Bridgewater and who?
And the Dolphins. But who cares? But still, holding an NFL team without a touchdown in 1 game is difficult.
Okay.
Never mind 2.
Okay. Well, the Giants have to win this game because they go to New England where they'll lose the week after that. But then they get the Cardinals, but then they got to go to the Lions. Yeah, never mind. The Giants are dead in the water. And the Cowboys, no matter what happens, though, the thing that stands out to me is I've got a guy who kept telling me they were never going to lose in the rest of this decade.
They got to start a new streak. It starts this week.
Oh, so it starts this week?
Yeah, we'll restart it.
All right. Then it ends in Detroit, November 17th, or at home to Philadelphia on October the 20th.
Dallas owns the Eagles. Dak and Ezekiel Elliott, they have, I think they have, 1 loss.
Oh, God. This is what I do know. Since Dak and Ezekiel Elliott started playing, you know what the Eagles own?
What, a Super Bowl? One Super
Vince
Bowl?
Lombardi trophy. Yeah.
Yeah, but too bad the quarterback is in Jacksonville right now dealing with shoulder injury.
Well, it's too bad your team hadn't won a Super Bowl since, what, 1849? And see, you could bring up the fact that my team's never won it, but I don't care anymore because I gave up and I just like to watch the shit show that is the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's okay. Zach Taylor will pull you out of the water.
Yeah, right. Zach Taylor couldn't pull me out of the water. Number one, he's 12. He only weighs 120 pounds, and he probably doesn't know how to swim. Do you really like Zach Taylor?
I really do like Zach Taylor, and
Why?
I think he's going to get this team in the right direction.
Dude, come on.
Just because he's not Marvin Lewis.
Well, I guarantee you Marvin Lewis took him to the playoffs more than Zach Taylor ever will.
Well, we'll see.
Well, I guarantee it. Zach Taylor should be fired like in January when they hired him. But, all right, maybe we can get Kellen Moore in Cincinnati.
Well, I like him in Dallas for another couple of years.
It's more likely, though, that Jason Garrett will end up being the head coach in Cincinnati. Oh, hell. I can't wait till November the 24th when the Cowboys play the Patriots, though. You're picking the Cowboys in that game, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hey, and what's the Thanksgiving Day with the Cowboys? Is that against the Bills?
Yes.
That's actually a pretty good game now.
Yeah, another Cowboys win.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. They all will be, except for the one last week where they lost to Teddy freaking Bridgewater. Anything else you want to talk about, Anthony?
No, I think we got everything covered for today.
All right, guys. We will be back on Monday to review all of Sunday's game and bring up any breaking NFL news. Anthony, you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. You can follow my show at the FF Face Off. You can get that anywhere you can get a podcast. And we will be going live today at 3:30 p.m. on YouTube and Twitch and Periscope.
All right, guys. So make sure you check them out live today on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope, whatever Twitch and Periscope is, because I'm old and I don't know what that stuff is. But I do know what YouTube is. And I do have a Twitch. As I get older, I develop Twitches. So we're going to wrap it up. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, wherever you find podcasts. You'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Anthony Servino, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.